Hey there, good morning. Welcome to SharkCast Pod, a podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the world, the mighty Cronulla Sharks. Of course, it's Monday morning, and it is Monday morning catching up with Kieran over coffee about Cronulla. And we can tell you the show is brought to you by Dyson Logistics, the Royal Media Club in Port Hacking, and Jason Hawes at Cripps and Cripps Real Estate. Man, I need this coffee so bad, Kieran. But let me formally introduce you. I'll just give you a little bit of music as well. Here is Kieran Fraser. Here he comes. You travel a lot for work, Kieran. This we know. Tell me about something that happened to you on a plane 2 weeks ago, which I neglected to talk about last week.
I forgot about this. I seriously think I saw a UFO. So we were halfway between Australia and New Zealand. So like pitch black, nothing around. But it was like a 6 o'clock flight from New Zealand. So it was nighttime and basically no lights, nothing. And I didn't close my window. So I left my window open and I didn't close the shutter. And basically, I'm looking out the window and I see this object, and it's really close to our plane. And it was kind of like rotating, like over itself. Like, I don't know if you're listening to this, you can't see what I'm doing with my hands, but it was kind of like an oval. It was like kind of spinning like top down. It had three lights. It had two red and one white, or maybe it was two white and one red. I can't remember. And there was dead set nothing around. And after we saw this, the plane then diverted and we went. When you fly from, I was flying from Auckland or Wellington. I think it was Auckland. When you fly from Auckland, it's like a straight line that you kind of just go on. And after I saw this, our plane diverted and we kind of went up like towards Brisbane and then came down. So it added an extra hour to our trip. So I'm a believer. I saw a UFO.
I believe that you saw it. I mean, I'm not
I saw
anti.
my wife. I saw
I
my
don't.
wife. She didn't care.
I'm not going to tell you that you didn't see one. I wanted all of our listeners to
Think that I'm crazy.
enjoy the experiences that I have being your friend. I get to hear all this crazy stuff. There's things out there. I want to believe, but
I 100% believe in aliens, but the one that I
yeah.
want to be real is Bigfoot. I really want that one to be real.
On that note, Kieran, let's talk about other mysteries of the world, and that is the Cronulla Sharks.
Oof.
If we were treading water, suddenly the water is rising above us. We are 5 losses from the past 6 matches. The latest one being against the Gold Coast Titans, 20 points to 16 up in Coffs Harbour. It is on the back of another bad start, to put it kindly. One of the worst starts you'll ever see. No ball at all. When you get the ball, you muck it up. And I am convinced that is why we're losing these games. It's not because of the halfback. It's not because of the forwards. It's because of these starts. And they're all equally responsible. And the more we talk about it, the more it becomes a thing. I think this week we just got to forget about it and go out and play some footy. Forget about the tightness of the nerves and don't drop that ball in the first set. Maybe do what they did against the Roosters, just go out and play touch footy. There's got to be some sort of antidote to it because they just can't keep doing this stuff.
It was funny because when I saw that we were kicking off, I was excited. I was like, yes, we can't drop the ball. How good is this? We can do a good defensive set, keep them down there and, force a kick. And then we didn't touch the ball for like 7 minutes, I think it was. There was a stat I saw, I think, during the game where it was like the Gold Coast had 45 play the balls and the Sharks had 6.
Yeah.
And I don't think we really started to get any real possession till like the 20-minute mark. Like, I've been watching rugby league for 37 years. I've never seen like a team do these starts so consistently. Like it's mind-boggling, and I just can't wrap my head around it. I can't work out why it's happening. But the more it happens, the more it becomes a thing, and the more it's like, well, how do we fix it? And I don't know, and I'm just hoping that we don't go through it again because I'm still annoyed about that Tigers loss earlier in this season. That was probably one of the worst performances I've seen from the Sharks. So I really want them to put in a good performance and get that back on track. But There's a bye coming up. It's just this origin period has just destroyed us.
Oh, look, it has, but I don't relate this to Origin. It's something else, and we'll get to the Tigers game later. But the argument is there that, well, they're only 12-0 down in the modern day. It's not that much, sure. But on the back of weeks and weeks and weeks of doing this, your confidence is going to be shot to a man, not to one man, to a man. And 12 points against the Titans in the old days might have been, yeah, we can do that. But like you've had all this onslaught of media and public pressure and fan pressure and pressure within not to do this, and you've done it again, sometimes that's hard to get out of. And the Titans, they're not a bad team. They probably shouldn't be sitting in 15th. They're not a top 8 team necessarily either, so no excuses there. But to be 12-0 down against those guys, it was always going to be tough. And they almost pulled it out, which is the sort of semi-hilarious thing about it all, is that a bunch of these ones they could have won probably every game except for the Penrith game they could have won, as in being in that game in that moment with 5 minutes more or whatever. So that's why I think it's not end of world stuff. But at some point, you slide from first to second to third to fourth, you're going to keep sliding if you don't start winning. So they are making serious damage by not winning these games. And I mean, you look at the way the finals are going to shape up, and there is not going to be an easy game, particularly in the top 4. But even stretching out, it's going to be hard in the top 8. There's no excuses. We've got to get there. We've got to win. But you got to win as high as you can. You got to be as high as you can in that top 4. And we have a good run home, and it starts this week. I say it every week, but it starts this week. And as you mentioned, the bye. Tell me about, do you have any positives from the game that went, whether it was individually, as a team, any positives?
I'm searching for them. I mean, I think Nico defended well again. I think that was probably, they were setting for feeder at him. That's probably the only real positive that I have out of it. Their team looks frustrated. They look annoyed. They've now lost to the bottom 3 teams in the competition, which is something that we haven't really done recently. But they look like a frustrated team. They look like a really annoyed team. And you could even see with Nico getting involved in some of the niggle and stuff like that you just don't really see from him. You could see him pushing and shoving, and you could see that they were sending Clark at him, and they were really trying to get underneath his skin. So, it all goes back to the start, and they need to fix it. And they need to fix that and get things going in the right direction, because as soon as one thing kind of happens, they just start to see a domino effect. And I saw Josh Mansell, I think it was talking about the Sharks, and he's not someone that I really seek out to listen to, but he was saying that they're just playing like a really frustrated team, and if one thing goes against them, then they just kind of compound it again and again. And that kind of resonated with me, because that's just something that we just keep seeing. So we've got to fix these starts, Sam.
Yeah, and the problem is it's hard to start a game perfectly. We've actually done it this year. We've started a game perfectly, but that's a memory.
Yeah.
And now this weekend's the West Tigers. Say, for example, you have 3 or 4 great sets, and then someone does something. The whole crowd's going to groan. They're going to groan. You know what I mean? It's become this big thing.
Yeah.
And Coach Fitzgibbon in the press conference said, we're not at that stage of I can't remember the word he used, but maybe crisis. I can't remember the word that was put to him, and he went, no, we're not quite there yet. Obviously, respectfully, I disagree, but I can see where he's coming from in that it's going to take one good win to get over that, I think. Because I think once you get past that hurdle, you remember you can do it. It becomes mechanical, have the bye week, hopefully you roll back out. But I do know that he's also protecting his players a little bit. Like they're talking about it internally. There's zero doubt they're talking about it internally. So if you're thinking that the coach is not worried about it, he definitely is worried about it. But again, like I've said on a few podcasts, how do you coach against that? I don't know how you, as a coach, aside from getting into their heads mentally about doing things, I don't know how you get around it.
So I think it's crazy, because it's something that we've talked about a lot, and I think I've been scratching my head about this, for a number of weeks now. And then how do we fix it? And I honestly think we need to get our number one and number two props on our depth chart. We need to get them fit and we need to get them firing, and they need to start the game for us well. We need them to be, Hamlin needs to be out there intimidating people. Toby needs to be in there not doing silly penalties. And we need to get those two guys fit. If we got our two enforcers, and we haven't had them for 2 years, like they've had such an injury disrupted 18 months. We get those guys on the field, and they both played for the Jets on the weekend, and I
Big
heard that they
minutes.
played some long minutes. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I heard they did the first 40 straight, right?
Mm.
And Cole Hoon as well. Apparently, he had a blinder. He scored 2 tries. So, look, I think we get those two guys back. We start them. I think they have to start this week. And again, I said I wanted Toby dropped last week. So I think he's done his punishment. You drop him, you bring him back.
Sure.
I am also of the view now that, and I know that I've talked him up all season, and it was an unfortunate one, but Jack Williams, 2 errors, there's got to be a consequence for that, right? There has to be something. And I would look to bring in someone like a Colhoun and just try and, set the standard of, okay, these things are unacceptable, and, you will be sent away and you will have to go and come back and, be better for it. Because I just think that we've spent 2-3 years with this roster without a lot of change. And this is the first year where Fitz has kind of made some of these changes. He's brought in Iro, he brought in Stone Street when he could have brought in Hiroti, played the easier option. So I think we get those two guys fit, we get them firing, and that then takes the pressure off, the Kafusis, the Hazeltons. Those guys have logged, big minutes this year against some, all the other NRL teams. And those guys probably weren't expecting to play the role that they've had to play this year. And now we're 19 rounds or so in the competition. I think they're starting to feel it a little bit more. Yeah. So again, we turned our middle into our strength a few weeks back, and that's when we were playing really good football and they were winning games and life was good. But now it just seems that we don't have our enforcers, we don't have our middle short up. We've got to get those two guys out there, and they've got to start the game for us. They've got to set a platform for us. And I'd be sitting them down and saying, you two are number one and number two on our depth chart. You guys are paid accordingly. We need you to start this game properly for us and get us off on the right foot.
Is it too big a turnaround, do you think, to say to those two guys, particularly you're starting after playing Cup last week?
Look, we've got a bye coming up next week, right? So if you don't do it now, you can probably wait till after the bye. But again, are we going to be playing those guys New South Wales Cup in the bye round? I don't think we probably will. And the stint doesn't have to be, a 30-minute stint. They could just do the first 15 or 20, whatever the role that Fitzy comes up with for them. But I think that those two guys are our enforcers. And, you can say, well, I don't see Toby as a physical enforcer, but Toby plays a very rough and rugged style, right?
Yeah.
Hamlin is probably the only intimidating middle that I would say that we have. Hamlin can put on some shots. We've seen him rock people.
Big Tuku.
Yeah, well, Big Tuku, but I think with Tuku, right, he's of that kind of body shape, right, where it's hard for him to be super aggressive in defense because he's just so big. And, the hit zone, when he's hitting people, right, he's having to drop his body and all that type of stuff. Whereas, like Hamlin Ueli's body shape is kind of, he's built to rock people. And there was one game this year where he did rock a kickoff, and I thought he killed some bloke. So we need those two guys, I think.
Off the Jack Williams comment, kind of startled me for a minute, but thinking about it as you've been talking, it makes perfect sense, because if it's good enough for Toby Rudolph, it's good enough for Jack Williams. Jack's a guy that we defend every week.
Yeah.
We joke about the internet audience piling onto him whenever he sort of looks the wrong way. Yeah. But past 2 weeks, there's been 3 or 4 crucial errors, and he's been effective otherwise in his position, I think. But I think I'm with you. And I think that Colhoun's done his time back from injury. Yeah. He's going really well in lower grades. And he plays a similar role, not exact role, but a similar role. So I'm okay with that too. And we love Jack, and he's off contract, and we hope he sticks around. But consequences, you're right.
I just think that there has to be a line in the sand, right? And we did it with Toby, and Toby deserves to be dropped for that game. And again, he can come back. Like, it's not saying you're banished for good, right? But I just think there has to be something. And we don't want guys, worried for job security and all that type of stuff, where they're not actually able to be themselves and play their own game because they're so worried about making a mistake. But 2 drop balls at critical times, we have to address that.
Yeah, we do. The SharkCast inbox is bursting, as you can imagine, and we'll get to that during the week. It's a short week. I've got to work out what we're going to do, but I vow to our audience we're going to get to it one way or another. But a lot of stuff about Nico, as you can imagine, and the halves and the spine, so we'll get to all that. I thought that the spine wasn't fantastic this week. Probably out of the four of them, I thought Will Kennedy was again the best. I think Trindle and Hines, we kind of need to look at as a combo and see strengths and weaknesses. And I guess the spotlight is on Trindle because Hines isn't going anywhere. And I feel like Blake has sort of gone back into his shell. So I think that as much as I said it was a group effort, and it definitely was a group effort in the errors and the discipline, the spine isn't really working currently.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, Blake's had a great season, but I think that was probably one of the worst games I've seen Blake put together. That try where their 13 just ran straight through him for
Well,
that easy try.
they both went through him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you don't see tries like that very often, where a guy just runs from 15 meters out and just goes straight under the post like that. Like there's obviously something else that's happened in the lead up to that play that's created that, but yeah, it wasn't one of his better games. But look, it was on everybody. You know, Cam gave away that first penalty, right?
Yeah.
And then that kind of put us on the back foot. And these 6 again penalties are killing us. I can't stand this 6 again rule. And it's not just because we seem to cop it, but there's just no way to actually understand it, because how long is too long? Because sometimes it feels like the players are just laying there. And then other times you go, well, that didn't seem that bad. And now it's another 6 again. And that momentum that it starts and causes, I'm with Cam Smith, mate. Get rid of it.
And it eases up as the game gets closer to full time.
Exactly.
And the game's on the line. You saw that even with the field goal situations on the 2 games of the weekend. It's like, I'm sure that guy's offside from the field goal attempt. They put the whistle away. I'm with you and Cam Smith. I don't like it at all. Like, at all. I'd rather have a stop-start game and penalise for something. But we can't get around the excuse of, as a fan, we don't know what it's for, etc., because it's up to the team to get with the times.
Yeah.
And they're really struggling with it. And again, I think that's also on the back of confidence, poor starts, etc. It's not, they don't just have a problem with that. I think it's like a steamrolling effect. So, like, I think that you can practice. You can practice your tackling and your getting up off people and that kind of thing. There's a fine line because the coaches are probably telling you to hold the ruck, dominate the ruck, and I think maybe you just got to back your defense a bit more, get off the player.
It feels like we're being refereed differently to how we've been defending. And I'm not saying that the referees are targeting us or something like that.
Explain what you mean.
Well, our defense has been, pretty good wrestle, pretty good on the ground, right? But it seems like right now we're getting pinged on a lot of these things where, a few months ago we weren't getting called on these things, right? And it's like, if our interpretation of it is we're spending too long on the ground and all that type of stuff, then they need to address that. But at the same time, they need to just work out, what is the line and how far they can push it, because we've seen that we'll still keep doing it. And I think you've got to keep doing it because you've got to win the wrestle, right?
Yeah.
But the referees will penalize us right now. And it's just, we're in that kind of no man's land where it's like, we don't seem to know how long is acceptable for us to get away with it. And that's the hard thing, I guess, to follow as a fan, because you don't know. And next thing you know, you're watching your team defend 4 sets in a row going, well, I don't understand this.
Yeah, not a great rule, but
it's there. We can't change it.
Yeah, we can't change it. I wish we could. Tell me some other things. I know you weren't there. What did you make of the Coffs Harbour experience? You happy with the club taking a game there, making a home away from home?
Well, as we were getting flogged in that first 20 minutes, I was thinking, why did they send the game to Coffs Harbour?
Right.
It would be so much better to have this at Shark Park and, try and turn it around. But, I mean, the area's gotten really behind the team. I think it's quite good. I think it's a great, place for us to be fishing for local talent. From the juniors perspective, I saw that the deal there is up now. So the club said that they're open to looking for next year, but they're also open for other areas as well. Again, I think you should be doing stuff like that because, again, it grows the club, grows the brand. And if you can set up a pathway system, the Roosters do it really well. So the Roosters get all the talented kids from the Central Coast now, and they are just stealing talent from the Knights and all that type of stuff. We should be looking to do stuff like that in different areas. And the Panthers do it really well with Out West as well. So
Yeah.
I think we should be looking to identify a spot. And I think if we can keep going back to the same spot and then really making it like a home away from home, I think it's going to be good for the club.
And you're cool as a punter to leave a game for someone else, not have it at Shark Park. You don't really care about that as a mature age man.
Look, I mean, my preference would be always at Shark Park, but I think you have to look at it from a club perspective and how do we generate revenue? If one game I don't think is the end of the world, 2, 3, I'm starting to go, hang on a second. But for one game, I can cop one game. But this is the other thing too. It's I don't understand the schedule because it's like sometimes you'll go like 5 weeks on the road and then you'll have a home game and then you'll have a home game the next week. It's like, I swear as a kid, it used to be like one game at home, one game away. When did that change?
I think as a kid it was much more like that. It really was. I don't know if TV had something to do with it. I don't really know when it changed, but it's been like it changed for a while like that. When you look at your NFL schedules, and the first thing I look at in the hope that I'll get over to Minneapolis to watch some games is which one has 2 weeks in a row. So you arrive on the Saturday, watch a Sunday, stay for a week, watch another game. This year, the Hail Mary, it's 3 in a row, 3 home games. But before that, they're 3 games on the road. And so a bunch of their podcast guys were like, I don't think this has ever happened, 3 games on the road and 3 games at home. So it's bizarre system, whatever sport you're in these days. I think it must have something to do with TV and scheduling and making it all work, making the draw work. But yeah, when was the last time we were at home at Shark Park? Do you remember?
I remember it was a deflating experience.
Dolphins on a Thursday.
Yeah, the Dolphins, but like that was what 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think by the time we get around to Friday, it might be close to a month.
So that's my only thing with it, right? If you take an away game, so if you take a home game and play it away, I just think you shouldn't really be going like 4 weeks without playing at Shark Park. So,
sure.
And again, I can see, we had 2 games there, and we seem to always take it against the Titans, up to Cops or things like that. Right. I think it's better when we did it against the Warriors because, again, like that's a hard place for them to get to, right? You want them to fly into Sydney or Gold Coast and get them on a bus. Why are we making it easier for the Titans? Like that's a short trip for the Titans.
It's got to be a smallest drawing away crowd. Take them somewhere. Surely that's the reason.
Hey, when Perth comes into competition, let's go play them in like Wellington or something like that. Let's make it really difficult for them.
Who are they? The Perth Bears, right?
The Perth Bears, which is going to lead into an interesting topic one day when we break it down when it's confirmed, because they're saying for season 2027, and we've got a lot of players off contract at the end of 2026, and we also have a lot of players off contract next year. And I think what you'll see is a lot of clubs and managers will sign 1-year deals because there's going to be a flood of extra money coming onto the market for 27.
Is that what happened? Was it Adelaide or one of those teams? They took like half our team. Was it Adelaide?
I think Adelaide took a couple. I remember like Kearns went to Perth.
I don't know about that.
And then like the Storm also got a couple as well. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's going to be a lot of money that's going to be coming into the game. And as they're talking to get to 3 teams by 2030. An extra 3 teams, that's like an extra $33 million in the player market that guys are going to be able to go and get. So it's going to be interesting.
Off topic a little bit. Are we talking Saturday night 9:30 time slot? Is that what we're talking?
I think that's the preference. But again, you could have them play like at any night really, because they're going to be open. The one time slot that I hate is the Sunday night time slot. Because that's just the worst. Like your team's playing at 6:30.
So that'd be like 3 o'clock for them, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a 3 or 4 hour time difference, right?
Tough time to be in the league business. Anyway, we got the Tigers coming to town on Friday night. You and I are going to head out and have some good times, which will include singing the team song. Even if we don't win, we're going to sing the team song. No, we're going to win. But I watched the Tigers closely on the weekend. They put some points on Melbourne and still lost. They were indifferent. They were good. They were bad. but we saw what they did to us early in the year. So there's definitely no taking this team easy from a fan point of view, from the playing point of view, from a coaching point of view, for sure. What are your initial thoughts on them? Forget about us. Forget about the starts, all that sort of stuff. What's your thoughts on them?
If we lose to them, I might jump out of the ET stand. That's my first initial
Hey,
thought.
people have done it before.
Again, the Tigers are kind of a weird team because there's no real expectations on them, and they're trying to develop younger players and trying to fix their roster. But they do have some veterans in there that can get under the skin, right? So, like a Bateman, for example, is going to be going after Nico. Clemmer is going to be going after them, right? So they've got like a lot of these niggly guys that can really disrupt the team. So look, I am expecting a win. I keep waiting for the Sharks to bounce back and get us back to where we should be. But this season is so strange. Like, look at the ladder. Like, the Dragons are coming, what, 5th or 6th? Like, Broncos are coming, like, 11th. Like, this season is just, I don't know.
There's a couple teams who are going to factor a little bit, and they've still got buys in hand. I mean, it helped that the Cowboys lost on the weekend in a lot of ways. But it's a weird season. And I said to, I think, Gary during the last week about the form ladder, and it's just a bit of fun, the form ladder. Well, it's not fun. It's like, it's relevant, but it doesn't really mean anything at the same time. But at the time, I think we might still be there. We were second last on a form ladder out of all the teams. We're second last. And that's like based on 5-6 week period. So obviously need to get out of that. Thankfully, we're in the top 4. We can still hang around there. We just got to start winning some games. We've got to buy up our sleeves. So it's a weird year, but it starts this week. Like, it has to. Just has to. The finals are in sight. They're a little bit away, but they're in sight. And Tigers, I mean, their fullback's really good. Their hooker is close to amazing.
Yep.
They have Clemmer. They have Bateman. They have some good young forwards as well, who I was watching on the weekend. Fainu on the left is very, very good. Other Fainu, not so much, but I mean, outside backs, maybe we can get them. 5'8's pretty good as well, actually. So they're not as bad as kind of the world wants you to think. If they put it together, Caesar's smart enough to get you the win. So definitely not an easy game. I just think that we're going to be more desperate to win, and hopefully that takes us a long way. Hopefully, patterns form, routines form. They remember how to play together. But I am looking to the forwards to dominate, but I'm looking to the halves. I really need the halves to lift.
It comes down to the kicking game, and what killed us on the weekend was Kieran Foran's kicking game. Like, they had it was like 8 or 9 dropouts. Like, it was ridiculous how many forced dropouts that they got from us, right? And they just pinned us in corners, and we couldn't get out of there, right? And Caesar has a really good kicking game. There's not much else that he's got left at his age, but his kicking game is still phenomenal. And we need our halves to step up, and we need our halves to start kicking better, because we don't force dropouts, and we don't pin teams in corners at the moment, and we need to start doing that.
So on that, and I think we've got some mail which we'll get to during the week, but I'm led to believe that the not forcing dropouts, that kind of thing, the Sharks' motto, I don't know if it still is, but earlier in the season was, ball in hand, ball in play, keep the ball alive, because they were backing their fitness, backing their ability to sort of play a bit ad lib, what they see. That was the reasoning behind a lot of not kicking on the 5th for a dropout or for the corner. They'd take the tackle on the 10 metres out, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still standing now, so I can't confirm that now. But earlier in the year, that was a thought. And that's why they didn't do all that stuff, as well as we've seen, the dropout's a 50-50 thing now. It used to be like an amazing gift. It was one of my favourite plays, put the ball in, get 6 again. That's out the window. And I don't have a problem with that, really. Like, that's just how the game's evolved.
Yeah.
Question for you. When we were doing short dropout after short dropout, do you think we should have mixed it up a little based on the circumstance of the game? Because it felt like every time Trin got the ball, And it's not on him necessarily. It could be a coaching thing, it could be a captain thing. I'm not sure. Every time he got it, they just went short. And some of them they got back. The one with Nico was borderline genius.
Yeah.
Ramian and Ronaldo always in there, Brits in there. Like, I get it. But there were like 2 or 3 times at least where I was just like, kick long, back your D.
Yeah.
Especially against teams like the Dogs, Titans, kick long. Make them start on their 50, whatever.
Yeah.
But no, they went short, and they're starting from 10 metres out. I know there's different thoughts on what's best for your defence, that kind of thing, but I think they should mix it up a little bit where circumstance allows. If you need the ball back, do it. Go for it.
Yeah.
If you don't necessarily, if it's 6-0 and it's your second dropout, go long.
Yeah. Well, I think they got 3 back, and I think there was 2 penalties, and I think there was 8. So basically, that means that we almost got half of them back, but then we also cost ourselves with 2 penalties.
Yep.
Look, it's a frustrating thing because sometimes you see the kicks and they are so perfectly executed that you just go, that's amazing. And then other times you see it and it's just completely butchered. And look, I'm not an NRL player. I can't kick like
it's
that.
hard to do. They're hard to do.
Yeah, it's super hard for them to do, right? So to your point, look, sometimes it might be better just to go long and try and force an error with the defense because at the moment, we are spending so much time defending on our goal line. And so it would be nice and refreshing to get off our goal line at some times. But I think the underrated play with the dropouts is, and Nathan Cleary does it really well, is targeting a sideline. They're not necessarily going for the 10-meter one, but just doing a really aggressive low kick at a sideline because those ones along the ground are super hard to pick up, especially in the wet. So maybe that's something that they could look at and just try and force some errors that way.
I'd be practicing them, and I would be doing more like the ones I did for Nico, looking for the alternative side, and someone gets the call, whoever it is, and maybe you bring Katoa in a little bit and trick them. I don't know, and you just go chase it, Sione. Like maybe he's defending at 5'8" for like the kickoff, for the drop off, and then I don't know, but I just think they need to mix it up a little bit. So we're on deadline here, Kieran, so we're going to wrap shortly, but we're going to head out to the Tigers. We're confirming that, you and I?
Yes, I will be there.
Excellent. Now, before we go, we need to play our favourite game of the week, which is Random Shark of the Week. And my gut feeling on this, I don't know why I need to tell you my feelings on it, but my gut feeling is 50-50. I feel like you get it. I just hope for our listeners and viewers you don't get it too soon, but you do you. If you want to nail it in first guess, please do, okay?
No pressure.
So, born 23rd of February, 1994.
Oh, wow.
I think that currently makes him 30 years and 136 days old, just off the top of my head. He is 187 centimeters tall, 187 centimeters. He weighs 103 kilograms. Last time they weighed him. He may not weigh it today, but last time he weighed him. He's from parts unknown. No, he's from a junior club. I don't like giving you these ones because you have this encyclopedic thing about Mascot Jets. Okay. Not too far. Mascot Jets. He made his NRL debut in 2014.
The glory years.
It was a great one. One to remember. One that inspired podcasts all around the world to start up. His last NRL game was another great year. 2016. Debuted 2014. Finished up in 2016. I can tell you, however, this gentleman, as of this week, is still playing at a competitive level, not in the NRL.
Wow.
Yeah. He played a total of 3 NRL games. 1, 2, 3. He played under the coaches in this order. Well, I shouldn't have said that. James the Shepherd and Michael Maguire.
Okay.
Current New South Wales coach, I should point out. He played 3 NRL games, as I said, at these 3 stadiums. Homebush, Penrith, and the old Dairy Farmers Stadium, Townsville. So he played at Homebush, Penrith, and Townsville. He's currently playing Queensland Cup.
Oh, wow.
For the Falcons. And it's his 4th season there. He's played... This week, he plays his 50th Queensland Cup game. Let's hear it for this person.
In 4 years?
Yep. So he's a part of the team. Prior to that, he played 78 New South Wales Cup games. He played for the Sharks. He played for the Shark Jets. He played for the North Sydney Bears. He played for the Western Suburbs Magpies. And he played for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, finishing up in Cup at the Rabbitohs in 2020. Then went on to Queensland Cup. He is a forward. This may help you a little bit as well. May. He played 3 years of Holden Cup Rugby League for our beloved Cronulla Sharks. From 2012, 2014. A total of 33 games. No tries, no points. He won just 6 of those 33 games.
Wow.
He debuted for Cronulla in NRL, played 1 game in the glorious year that's 2014.
So
He
2014
played
just always reminds me of Trent Garvin, and that's not my guess here. But what about him? I think we've referenced him before. Like he had that debut game where he made like 60 tackles and was never seen again.
Do you want to say that's an answer or not?
No, that's not my answer.
Okay. He also played 2 games for the Rabbitohs in 2016.
So
Forward.
the guy that's coming to my mind is a front rower who ended up getting sacked by the Rabbitohs in their trip to the States. I think he got into a fight with one of the Burgess brothers or something like that. But I don't think he's still playing. And I
Was
think
he
he's
a
a lot bigger than
Shark?
102. Yes, Sione Massima or something like that.
No,
I
it's
can't
not
pronounce his
Sione
name.
Massima. But Sione Massima follows us on the Instagram. There was no incident there. He's a wonderful man in case he's watching. But no, it's not
there you go.
Sione Massima. You're kind of closer than you probably think.
Yeah, well, it's that era of players.
I'm led to believe that. So sorry, I should point out all 3 NRL games off the bench. I'm led to believe he would be a front rower, this gentleman.
And he played for us in the 20s. And he played
Yep.
1 game for the Sharks?
1 game in 2014, and that was against North Queensland in Townsville in round 25. How happy were you in round 25, 2014?
I wasn't happy. I think I was just glad the year was over. That was a year where the players served their suspensions, right?
Yeah.
From the 2013 stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember watching that game.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I always have memories of watching the Cowboys games for some reason and where I was. I am drawing an absolute blank here. I feel like when you tell it to me, I'm going to get really angry with myself for not remembering this person.
No. I wouldn't go that far, but we are on a deadline. I'll give you a few minutes more if you need it, but probably not much more than that. I don't have too many more.
You don't have more clues?
Clues, really, I don't think. So, listed historically as a back rower, came off the bench, but I think he fits the front row mold as well. I wouldn't think of him as a classic back rower. To be honest, I don't think of him at all. But It's a name that you would know, given that you're a buff of the Sharks.
No,
And you would have seen him lumbering around in Holden Cup a lot, regularly. Not necessarily lighting it up, but certainly not a bad player in Holden Cup. More of a Holden Cup guy than an NRL guy, let's face it. But he's still going for the Falcons. Still killing it for the Falcons up north.
Mate,
so think of yeah.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, think of just one gamers, 2014, not Trent Grubb, not Sione Massima. I thought you prided your life on knowing one gamers.
I do, and this was, Jack Bosden, but I don't think he ever went to South.
You haven't talked about the other Jack Afamasaga. It's not him. Not him.
We got him from Para, didn't we? And then
one gamer.
No, I'm drawing a blank on this one, mate. Yeah, you've stumped me.
Is this the first time I've stumped you?
No, you've got me. I think you got me 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, beauty.
This is the third time.
I'm sorry I didn't have more on him, but this is all I have. The random shark of the week. This week, I'm hoping the pronunciation is correct. Patrice Ciolo. Is that how you'd pronounce it?
I do remember Patrice.
Yeah.
That 2014 season, I'm sure we can get so many random sharks because, like, there was like Tim Wayman, that was Michael Wayman's brother. Like,
you say that every week. You're looking for him. You're fishing for him.
But again, like, I wouldn't be able to identify him based off those clues. But that season had so many players that we just never heard of again. And
so there was the Asada suspensions, but that was only towards the end of the year. That was a couple of the end of the year, as we know, infamously. There was a lot of injuries that year. I think post-Origin, Gal was injured. There was a lot of injuries, and they pretty much, the season was done. And yeah, we didn't want to win the spoon, but we did. But there was a lot of injuries on top of the controversies. That's what I remember.
Yeah. I remember Luke Lewis spoke about it once on a podcast, I think it was, and he was just talking about what a depressing time it was at the club because, like, he wasn't involved in the Asada stuff, but he was watching his friends go through it, and then they were getting suspended, and then, like, the coach wasn't there. And then, like, Peter Sharp was here, coach that year too, and he just stepped down. He just had enough. He just said, look, I don't want to do this anymore.
I think the word is he didn't want to do it in the first place, but they kind of went, you're next in line. He said, okay. And then things were pretty bad. But yeah, went down back to James Shepherd, who I think he was behind the two infamous wins behind Brisbane and the Roosters. Would that be correct? I don't know if it was Sharpie or not, because Sharpie didn't last very long.
No. And so was this Cowboys game? Was this the one where Daniel Holdsworth kicked the field goal?
I haven't got it on me. It may have been, unless that was 2010, 11 or something, because there was some lean years too. I can't remember.
2014 was just a miserable year where it just sucked a lot of
It was the worst. It was the worst. I always talk about 9, 10, 11, but 14 was obviously the worst for lots of reasons. But you know what? It spawned this great podcast. It's given me this great life post 2014. I won a comp. I'm a content creator. You and I met because you took a photo of me, but we'll talk about that in the off season when we do our. How did you guys become friends? That's a whole other mystery. That's other
with UFOs.
Should have this thing on cue. I don't. I was going to cue the music. Anyway, we're going to get out of here, Kieran. I hope you have a great Monday. I hope you have a great week. I will see you down south for the game and whatever shenanigans we get up to prior to that. Hope everyone has a great week. We are going to get another episode to you, particularly covering your mail. I don't know when it'll be, so sit tight. It's a short week. It's a different week, so we will get to it. But I will say, if you see this, hear this, and want to get your mail in, get it in sooner rather than later, because I'm not sure when we're going to hit record. SharkCast Pod signing off. Kieran, thank you for your time. As Jerome Luai would do. Is that what he does? Or it's a gun or
the
something?
Dragon Ball Z stuff, I think, yeah.
Is that what it is, Dragon Balls?
Well, they're really into that stuff, those guys.
Yeah, so is my kid from time to time. All right, we will talk to you all another time. SharkCast Pod, up. Stick tight. Let's get them. Come on. Let's get a win. Up. We got this. It's all good. Bye, everyone.